It probably feels like the nightmare will never end as people in Southern California face a sixth straight day of deadly wildfires. Crews still at it with winds expected to intensify again this week. At least 24 people have lost their lives. The Palisades fire still largely uncontained, and it's already the most destructive fire in LA County history. One local official says more than 5,000 homes have been wiped out in the Palisades fire alone. Thousands losing everything in a matter of hours, including one family who lost their daughter's ashes.
We had a daughter 15 years ago. She'd be 15, and she passed away when she was 1, and her ashes were in our home, and they're gone. Like every memory, every piece of physical evidence of her life is just gone, and that hurts.
Critical fire conditions flaring up once again, with the National Weather Service warning of a, quote, particularly dangerous situation by midweek. All of this threatening to fuel the major fires, which have already burned more than 40,000 acres in just under a week. That is an area bigger than the size of Paris, France. California Governor Gavin Newsom says fire crews are moving into hotspots in advance.
So I'm up here in Mandeville Canyon, which was the site in the last 2 nights of tremendous investment of resources, firefighters working the line, a lot of those assets still here, not only in anticipation of potential flare-up here in the Palisades fire, but also pre-positioned, as we're pre-positioning in many counties throughout the state of California because of the upcoming winds we're expecting. Monday, peaking Monday night into Tuesday, extending into Wednesday.
Joining me now to discuss the latest is Brian Rice, the president of the California Professional Firefighters. Brian, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being with us. We did hear from the governor overnight about pre-positioning fire crews for more potential flare-ups. What do you think is the scale of the risk of that here?
I think that for the next couple of days, and the governor said it through Wednesday, there's a pretty large spread of a red flag warning. I think the threat is very real, and that the state of California is moving resources in to match, I can't say match that threat, but in anticipation of that threat. The threat's real.
So, sir, at this point, I mean, what do you think are the biggest risks from these winds? Which neighborhoods do you think are potentially more at risk than others, and what does that mean for your crews?
Well, right now, it looks like the big threats they're talking about the Brentwood area, the Santa Monica area, that the governor mentioned, Mandeville Canyon. In some of these areas on the northern end of the Palisades fire, you're seeing areas that haven't had a fire in some cases up to 40 years. So you're seeing a much higher fuel load. They know that. They're getting resources in there. But Casey, it's like I said, every time I've spoken to you, the weather matters here. It's still dry. The humidity levels are coming up a little bit. I think that they probably aren't beginning to see the type of overnight recovery in the dew point and the humidity levels that they want to see. But it's not single digit like it was when this fire started. And right now, it all matters, and it is the neighborhoods that are in front of the flame front, the flame front, and then some of the things that add to that. You know, they'll have islands of areas in the burn that haven't burned. They were saved. Or the fire moved around them. Those pose a threat too. You don't want to see a start in those areas that help fuel a flame front.
So, sir, what are you hearing from firefighters on the ground about what they may need here? I mean, are they running into any issues along the lines of, obviously, there's already been investigations called for and apparently launched into why the hydrants ran dry in the Palisades, for example. Are there any other issues like that you're hearing from crews, and what are they telling you about how residents can best help them right now?
Some of the things that I've spoken to last night with one of the crews, a leader on a USAR team, their morale is very, very high. They're starting to roll into getting some rest periods. But the reason that the morale is high is, you know, there's a lot of interaction with the community. As firefighters rotate off the line, they'll have those connections in some areas as they're transversing or going towards the fire line. They connect with citizens, and those interactions mean everything. You hear their stories. They ask, a person asks you for help, or what did you see in this area? And people are tired. There'll be time for exhaustion, and there'll be a time to get rest when the wind stops blowing and we see our containment numbers go up.
I'm glad to hear that that you are hearing that the morale is high because of how much support they're getting from the community. That is at least something positive to look to in what is obviously an incredibly difficult and continuing to be a very dangerous situation. Brian Rice, have been so grateful to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
The last thing residents in and around Los Angeles want to hear this morning. Overnight, officials raised the fire threat level to the highest level, extremely critical in some places. That is a 3 out of 3 in terms of danger, and it could stay that way for days. Shortly, the wind speeds could be near hurricane level gusts again. The fear is the conditions will soon become explosive. Just moments ago, a fire battalion chief shared this update.
With the red flag warning imminent, every one of our fires that's currently active, the containment lines that are not fully contained yet are still a challenge, and it's possible that wind could blow in.
All right, more than 100,000 people are in the evacuation zones this morning. The death toll stands at 24, but that number could rise. There are dozens of people said to be missing. Let's get right to Malibu. CNN's Stephanie Elam is there. Stephanie, we can see you standing in front of just the destruction.
So much destruction, and you were talking about those winds, John. They are really starting to kick up now. I don't know if you can tell as well. Yeah, I guess this guy is flapping up here so you can see this. It is really windy, and this is part of the concern because right now it is cooler. It is a little chilly out here, and that usually happens during wildfires where we see the flames kind of simper down into the earth and we don't really see them. But then as daylight comes, things start to heat up and we start to see these blazes come back. But this is the overall effect of what we've been seeing here. Take a look at this. This was an inn right on the Pacific Coast Highway, just decimated by the blaze, the Palisade Fire coming through here. And you think about it, the Palisade Fire has burned through more than 23,000 acres. The Eaton Fire over on the east side burning through 14,000 acres. And according to data released by CAL FIRE, they're saying that the amount of land burned between the Eaton Fire, the Palisades Fire, and the Hearst Fire is more than the size, the total area of Paris. Larger. I mean, just phenomenal numbers to actually try to compute and digest of just how large these fires are. The other concern, though, with these winds is that while they have had some containment come together for some of these fires, and some of them they've knocked down, the issue is with these winds, those containment numbers could go back down. And I know a lot of people just want to get back into their homes if they're in those evacuation areas. But take a listen to a CAL FIRE official here explain why they don't want people to go back prematurely.
Part of the reason we're keeping evacuation orders in place is not only because of fire risk, but it's also because we have down power lines, which are potentially live. Unknown status of gas lines, and every bit of that ash that it's out there is toxic with petroleum products from the houses that burned. So it is an unsafe place for families to be.
That's very true. And even here, standing here by this inn, even though I'm not in it, I can smell that metallic smell that you smell after wildfires that goes through not just brush and trees, but through buildings like this. And that is part of the concern, along with the fact that we have these wind warnings. So they're saying if things go the way they hope they go over the next couple of days, the earliest that we may see people going back into their homes is on Thursday, John.
You know, this has been going on for so long now, in days more of it to come. It's got to be overwhelming for so many of the people who've lost their homes. It's got to be exhausting for you too. Stephanie Elam, thank you so much for being there. Appreciate it.